What is an electricity or power grid? A power grid is a network for electricity delivery from producers to consumers. Here is what you need to know about the electricity grid. The power grid serves three primary functions. It ensures efficient energy resource utilization, offers enhanced power supply capacity, and ensures more cost-effective and reliable power system operations. There are two types of grids: regional grids, which are formed by interconnecting the different transmission system of a particular area through the transmission line, and the national grid, which connects the different regional grids. A power grid consists of power stations near populated areas, electrical substations to change the voltage up or down, the power lines to carry the electricity over long distances, and the distribution points to individual consumers where the voltage is reduced for consumption. Grids are synchronous so that all distribution areas operate at the same three-phase frequencies, which means that voltage fluctuations occur almost simultaneously in all areas. This allows transmission of power throughout the area, connecting many electricity producers and consumers and enabling more efficient electricity markets and redundant power generation. Load management balances the electricity supply in the grid with the electrical load by controlling the load rather than the power plant output. This process helps to ensure the stability of the grid and avoid power outages. The grid must constantly balance the supply and demand for energy. A well-developed and flexible grid is therefore vital. Grid expansion accelerates the adoption of renewable energy as it helps to balance out increased fluctuations in electricity generation and distribution. How much capacity expansion in the grids is required for a net zero scenario? Investments in smart grids need to more than double through to 2030 to get on track with the net zero emission goals by 2050. At least $21.4 trillion needs to be invested in the electricity grid by 2050 to support a net zero trajectory for the world, according to Bloomberg. Knowledge about grid construction and manufacturing of components is globally well distributed. One big question remains: is there enough copper available for a large-scale grid expansion? Thanks to its excellent electrical and thermal conductivity, copper is the key component for a large-scale grid expansion. Predictions about the demand for copper for electricity grids run as high as 10 million metric tons of copper per annum, compared to 5 million tons currently. With a total global annual consumption of 26 million tons, the increase is quite significant. Copper production is suffering from the insufficient investments of the last decade and the increase in demand due to the electrification of the world. This increases the risk of severe shortages later this decade. Is recycling a topic for power grid components? Recycling for grid components is slowly catching up, especially for transformers. Increase in recycling rates for copper will be crucial. What are the difficulties with power grids? Whenever we dispatch electricity over large distances, we lose part of it during the transmission. Greater reliance on renewable energy sources can lead to fluctuations in power availability, making the grid more susceptible to outages. Most of the grids lacked investment during the last decades and are in urgent need of substantial investments to ensure a smooth energy transition. With yearly rising electricity demand, the aging grid is becoming increasingly vulnerable to congestion and potential power outages. As with any infrastructure, power grids are at risk of cyber or terrorist attacks. Yet, in the midst of the energy transition, grids remain crucial to ensure stable electricity distribution and prevent blackouts. Major investments must be made to ensure reliability in the future. Invest in the clean energy future. Invest with Talk Capital Management.